welcome to the newest edition of A Plus Wrestling here on A Plus Productions. We're hosts. I'm Boris, and as always, I am joined by Matt.
Bonjour! How's everybody doing? We hope you're doing well out there. Saturday night's main event, the 38th official, apparently, edition of the Saturday night's main event brand, the second one since the comeback. This was a kind of an uneventful show. You didn't have to sit down and watch it, but if you did, you were probably glad that you took the time. It was fine. It was an enjoyable television show. There were a couple glitches, a couple errors, perhaps booking errors. We'll talk about the whole thing. Boris, how you feeling this morning?
I am feeling amazing. I am feeling really good. Officially
Nice.
cleared. My ankle is good. I'm kicking ass, taking names, and doing everything else in between. I'm feeling fantastic, man. How about you?
I love it. Kicking names and taking
Kicking
ass.
names, taking
Boris,
ass.
the Boris Aguilar story today on Lifetime. No, I'm well too. I had a dentist appointment on Thursday. Got an issue handled. I was kind of feeling under the weather, and I feel good now too. Feel like a new man, ready to talk some professional wrestling with you, big homie.
Yeah, man. A very eventful couple days, to say the least. We have a few things that we do want to talk about, but we're gonna go through Saturday night's main event first, and then we'll chat about some of the things that happened throughout the week. Well, and some of the things that happened last night, because it was a pretty eventful Saturday night in the world of pro wrestling, to say the least.
Big time. There was a very monumental segment between Mariah May and Toni Storm on AEW Collision we do have to talk about. Also, Bowen Yang, SNL cast member, wearing a New Japan shirt on stage during the goodbyes last night. Timmy Chalamet and, I don't know, Toru Yano are now, they're in the same universe. They're all part of the SNL universe.
I love it. Funny enough, I was wearing that t-shirt last night.
What do you know? Was it Bowen Yang's?
Yeah,
It was probably not
from his back.
I love it. Probably not that specific t-shirt, but I know exactly what you mean. That's cool. Yeah, Bowen Yang, apparently he's a big fan. I didn't realize this, but apparently he was at Wrestle Kingdom or Wrestle Dynasty, one of them, and was like posting about it on Insta. That's sick.
That's
He's
really cool.
talented, man. He's a funny dude.
Dude, there's something hand in hand with comedy and pro wrestling. It's been there for a long time, and you're seeing it more and more.
1,000%. I mean, AEW has a number of people who kind of started in that way, in that realm. Sami Zayn has been doing comedy
RJ.
shows and stuff. RJ, yeah, absolutely. But it makes sense. It's live entertainment, and it's silly, but we love it.
That's exactly it. So let's just get right to it, my friend. Saturday night's main event. As you said, it was one of those shows, and the timing of this show was weird. I want to talk about that real quick, right? It's a week before Royal Rumble, and in the past, we've criticized WWE. We've criticized AEW about this a lot, but let's criticize WWE about this, and it's this weird booking where they kind of have to split the attention of two major shows, and I kind of feel like this show suffered from that a little bit.
A little bit. It wasn't as it wasn't as eventful as the first one in the comeback a couple months ago. But I feel like this was like your appetizer. This was a nice app platter to get your appetite all ready to go, all reared up for the Royal Rumble. This was setting the table for the Royal Rumble. I don't think it was treated as big as the Royal Rumble will be, obviously. You know what I mean? I don't think it was meant to be seen on the same level.
The other thing that we need to remember, similar to it's kind of similar, but now it's like 100% where this show, similar to the first episode of Raw on Netflix, is catered to the casual, the new fan, someone switching channels.
Yes, absolutely. And I like that. I like that there are like resets built into the calendar like that. For example, when Shawn Michaels, Kevin Owens, and Cody Rhodes came out for their promo, they explained to the viewer the rules of a ladder match. No pinfalls, no submissions. You got to climb up the ladder to retrieve the belts to win. I like that they know that they're getting more casuals for these types of shows, and they reach out to those fans. I think that's very smart and well done.
Yeah, exactly. I really do appreciate that. Something that WWE, and especially in this Triple H era, they've been doing really, really good on, where they take you take a step back and really explain things out, but not to the point where us more hardcore viewers feel kind of stupid about it watching, right? Like we're being like our intelligence is being questioned like it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you'd see more intelligence insulting happening in a Vince McMahon show than you do in this era. They do toe that line very well, but I appreciate it. Even still, it's good to remember the rules of this game that we're watching every now and then. You know.
Yep. Let's just jump right to the first match. The first 10 minutes or so had the weird audio issue from the NBC area. It wasn't, don't, what's the old saying? Don't adjust your set.
Yes. Yeah, so they were playing the Spanish audio on top of the English audio for the first like 7 to 8 minutes of the show. It was a little annoying because we got like an awesome intro with the what is it, Animotion song?
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. Honestly, that is watching WWE or any show that's originally in English in Spanish. It is the most annoying fucking thing because they're literally talking over everything, trying to obviously translate things, but it just makes for a really awkward experience if you know English. It's not that bad.
Yeah,
like they obviously redub stuff, but that's, the spirit of it.
Interesting. Yeah, that is. I can see why that would be grating for someone who is bilingual, such as yourself, Boris.
Yeah, especially because like one ear I'm hearing English, one ear I'm hearing Spanish, and my brain was like ready to explode.
Yeah, and it's like two different people speaking at you at the same time in two different languages. Exactly, and then all of a sudden your eyes start to cross.
Yeah, speaking of ready to explode, let's talk about the first match: Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax for the Women's World Championship.
Yeah, it was okay. It was about as good as you can hope for like a 10-minute Nia Jax match. They tried to book this. They tried to lay it out like Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. It didn't get there. It wasn't, but that was on.
At least it didn't. Sorry for cutting in. At least it didn't turn into Goldberg versus William Regal.
No, exactly. Or Goldberg versus Lesnar 04. They tried to follow that blueprint. It didn't quite get to like that level of their awesome matches, but it was okay. It was fine. I would say it was overall a good match, pretty much entirely due to Rhea Ripley.
Of course, but you know what I do appreciate, and this is what I do appreciate about this, and I know they've done this in the past, but you're really noticing this more and more, where not every fucking match needs to be 15 to 20 minutes. They know Nia Jax can't go too long, so make her look good, or bad, or whatever you want to say, in 10 minutes.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, this match, according to Cage Match, went 9 minutes and 22 seconds. It currently has a rating of 6.32 out of 10, so above the Mendoza line, but not by much. And yes, indeed, your champion, Rhea Ripley, defends her title, defeats Nia Jax with the Riptide pump handle power bomb thing that she uses. 9 minutes, 22 seconds. Yeah, it was fine. It was good. It was exactly what you expected coming in.
Right. And then, all right, so let's talk about some other things that happened. Michael Cole said that there were a lot of legends around. And then, dude, we saw something that it's interesting that they kind of embrace this now, I guess because they understand how monumental it was. We saw Medusa dumping the women's title in the trash, and then they show her in the crowd. Then they show Mark Henry, and then, Mark Henry shake hands with Cole and McAfee.
Yeah, that was nice. Mark Henry back in the fold here in WWE, part of the WWE family again. And yeah, the Medusa thing, they didn't like to talk about that until such time that they actually bought WCW. And once you have won the war, that becomes a funny part of history. But you know what I mean? If they were still beefing with WCW, you would not be seeing that on television. They used to hate that footage. It is funny how far we have come, Boris.
Right, especially now. At the same time, man, it's been almost 30 years, more than 30 years at this point. Holy shit. We're old.
We are old.
Braun Breaker versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental title was next. Before we start talk about this match, I feel like they gotta rejig Sheamus's entrance sometimes because he honestly looks like Mr. Burns on a Friday night after getting injected constantly to keep his life going. That motherfucker was glowing.
Sheamus, I bring you love.
Yeah.
Build of Sheamus. I love it. That's
One of
funny.
my favorite Simpsons
What
episodes ever, by the way.
that's such a banger. Yeah, the X-Files episode.
Yeah.
That is an all-time classic for sure.
Mulder's ID always kills me.
But he's just like, yeah, on the bearskin rug, basically. Yeah. So this was probably my favorite match on the show. Yes. I quite enjoyed this. This is one where I think you could have maybe afforded to give Sheamus the Duke here. I think Sheamus could have probably stood to win this. I liked Jesse Ventura on commentary. He didn't say much, but I thought he did a really good job when he did inject his opinion. I'm not sure if Braun Breaker connects with the casual fan. I was watching with a few people, had some friends over, and Braun Breaker is the type of guy who, if you're a wrestling fan, you understand his pedigree, you understand how skilled he is. He's strong, he's fast, he's got all the tools, but he's not super charismatic in that pop out of the screen way. And yeah, he's one that the wrestling fans like, but the casual fans are like, what the fuck is this guy's deal? A couple of the girls that were watching with us were talking about how his outfit was really dumb with like, what is the pattern? Is this a onesie? Is it a two-piece? And they were just distracted by the outfit. And he was the least popular person on this show, it seemed, to the casual fan in my small sample size of watching it with 4 or 5 people.
That's a sample size regardless, right? And that's the thing, right? The thing about Braun Breaker is that this is where them not calling him a Steiner kind of hurts, because you can't go too deep. Like, it's weird because they acknowledge it without acknowledging it, right? So you can't go too deep as to why he has that stupid getup and certain things. But you're 100% right, and I agree wholeheartedly with everything that you said. Braun Breaker with 2K is just like, he's good for us, but he's not the stand out larger than life character.
And like, being an excellent wrestler and having a good long career is enough. Like, I'm not saying that he's failed or in anything in any way, but what I will say is if they have designs on making this guy the next Cody Rhodes, the next John Cena, the next Hulk Hogan, Brock Lesnar, etc., go down the line, he needs a little more spice. He needs a little more character than just generic mad guy who yells and does the spear. You know, he needs a little more je ne sais quoi, Boris, as you always say. As the French say, I don't know what. He's just missing that little spice to hook the casual fan.
I also find that WWE kind of took the pedal off him the past few months, right? When he came to Raw and won the IC title and feuded with Jay, like, he was red fucking hot. Right now, I kind of feel like they've taken off, like, at least this is how I see it. Like, they're like, he's still getting pushed, but he's not this focus that he was, which happens nowadays.
Exactly, and the chase is always more impactful than once you actually scale the mountain. That's a problem in wrestling. That's every single title chase ever. So I understand that, but they do need to. I think they need to figure out something for him to do, for lack of a better term, other than just spearing the bejesus out of Sheamus, which he did in this match. This was a very good, hard-hitting match. Cage Match agrees with me slightly. Cage Match has this at 7.14 out of 10. That is by a hair the best match on this show according to Cage Match. And yeah, Braun Breaker defeats Sheamus with a spear. 11 minutes and 31 seconds for this one with Jesse the Body on commentary. I like this a lot.
He was awesome. I love Jesse. He, like, it just goes to show you, like, how unique he always was, and this is a perfect match that showcased that. I know that some people didn't like, you know, old man rambling, right? But that's always been his shtick. He's always been a rambler. He's always been like this. He's always been annoying. He is the heel commentator. I think people forget that there are heel commentators.
He's the best ever to do the heel commentator job, and he always has a point. I always like his conclusions that he draws, though he's like doing so with the heel logic. You're supposed to be like think it's faulty, and you're supposed to kind of for it. He does still bring up good points, and I've always appreciated Jesse's commentary. You see him just Hogan
has always been justified.
Has aged well.
Yeah,
absolutely has, and has aged gloriously, I think. But yeah, even just him walking much slower these days, but just walks into the panel and instantly on that desk. He knows how to do the job. Just like driving a bicycle for old Jesse Ventura.
Yep. And I wonder if he's kept in contact with Ariba McIntyre. Remember that joke from WrestleMania 8?
I do. I love it. I actually still think of that joke. But yeah, so this was a good match, but yes. I do feel like Braun Breaker needs something. Like he's vanquished Sheamus on a number of stages, yes. Put this feud to bed and move on to something else.
And it also kind of leaves, here's the thing. Yes, it sucks that Sheamus lost. I'm not shocked that he did, but I really do feel like at some point they do need to pull the trigger, and Sheamus needs to quote unquote finish his IC title story, or else it's all of this is going to seem like for naught, right? Like it needs to happen at this point.
And especially because it is only the IC title, which I don't say to like super insult the Intercontinental Championship, but you could put it on Sheamus. Zack Ryder had this title. You know what I mean? Friggin' Dean Douglas had the Intercontinental title for a cup of coffee. You could put it on Sheamus for sure. And Jesse the Body outwardly said, he said that Sheamus needs this to make the Hall of Fame. And it's a pretty compelling story that they're telling. Like Sheamus wants this Intercontinental title because at that point, his Hall of Fame case is unassailable. He will not be denied that ticket to the HOF if he does win this IC title. I think obviously the WWE Hall of Fame, Sheamus is going in anyway. But I like that story that like the wrestler needs to finish his story.
Yeah. That's the whole point of wrestling at the end of the day, right? That is the whole point of wrestling, is where good guy constantly loses until he musters up the strength to win, right? That's the age-old story of pro wrestling, and I think we're going to be seeing that with Sheamus.
If they were to continue this feud and go Braun versus Sheamus at WrestleMania, Sheamus puts his career on the line maybe versus the Intercontinental title, that would be the only place that they could go from here. But I would have, Sheamus kind of doing something else for a little bit, maybe throw him down to NXT, feud there for a couple months, and then come back, win the IC title as his final hoorah.
Yep, exactly. And I think that would be a cool final hoorah for him. All right, let us talk about the contract signing. A very sweaty, old-looking Shawn Michaels was there. Kevin Owens, man, honestly, he has been on such a roll the past few weeks that he's really single-handedly making himself look like not only a credible threat, but making Cody look like the champion that he's needed to be for the past little while.
Absolutely. He's such a dick with his just his sneering attitude and his trolling t-shirts, wearing a shirt today that says Cody sucks eggs, reminiscent of Terry Funk wearing a Dusty sucks eggs shirt. Recently he was to troll the Usos wearing a Naomi shirt, which was hilarious. Just his son of an electrician or the Canadian Dream shirt was amazing. Yeah. Kevin Owens has been on fire. I loved his promo on Raw recently with Sami Zayn. I believe that was the most recent Raw episode. Yeah, Kevin Owens is doing incredible work right now, and it sure seems after this segment that Kevin Owens might finally have gotten his wish and might be wrestling Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, Boris.
Again, man, Kevin Owens, what a streak he has been on with these legends. It's awesome to see. And, Michaels has shown up, and he's I'm always worried when people like Michaels show up to segments like this, because you don't know which Shawn Michaels you're going to get, whether you're going to get Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker back-to-back against Undertaker, or whether you're going to get Shawn Michaels in Australia making an ass of himself, right? And I thought that Michaels was excellent in this segment for the most part.
Was it Australia or Saudi Arabia where he had his last match?
It doesn't matter. It was one of those non-canon events.
Yes. I do think that Shawn Michaels was by far the best wrestler in that match and held it together with fucking duct tape and a prayer. You know what I mean? Shawn Michaels, after having not wrestled for 8 years, was by far the only redeeming quality of that horrible match, Shawn Michaels and Triple H versus Undertaker and Kane, which I believe was in Saudi Arabia in 2018. I don't know. I've tried hard to block that one out of my mind, Boris.
Yep. Yeah, Kevin was great on this. His hate for Cody was repeated so many times, and this honestly felt old school with a couple sprinkles for us fans, including where Kevin Owens said that he's gonna give the fans a champion that we can all be proud of, and not someone who loses his smile.
Yes, great line. And then Sean says something ignorant to Kevin. Kevin did not appreciate that. They start rumbling and rolling. Kevin is about to hit Shawn Michaels with a power bomb, and Sean escapes and hits a sweet chin music onto Kevin Owens to end the segment.
Yep, that was that. That was that. It was good. I really did appreciate this. I really did like this. I thought this made everyone, including Shawn Michaels, look good. It made you care about this match and the possibilities after a little more as a one of us. And if you're a casual, well, you're like, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, actually, my roommate's girlfriend had just watched the Mr. McMahon documentary not long ago, so she recognized Shawn Michaels footage, and she was like, "Oh, this is the guy. Like, I liked this guy in the documentary." So she was now a Shawn Michaels fan, and yeah, it was very good. Like everyone was laughing at Kevin Owens' t-shirt, and we also must say Cody was a little bit of an afterthought in this promo, but I still think he did a phenomenal job on the microphone. Cody definitely did his part in this year's segment. This was the best thing on the show by a wide margin, I think.
Yep. The only thing that hasn't been addressed just yet in the storyline, and I'm assuming that it will be addressed between now and Royal Rumble in 6 days, and that's the addendum that Nick Aldis has been talking about.
Yes, that is hanging out there, and I do imagine that we're going to get that brought up. But yeah, I'm very excited. Cody Rhodes did his thing. Kevin Owens did his thing. Shawn Michaels hits a fucking sweet chin music on Kevin Owens, and brother, it sure seems like that's happening. I think we can pencil that in for WrestleMania, barring some kind of health issue. Why else would Shawn Michaels have randomly been here? Why else would he hit a heel, the big heel on the roster right now with his finishing move? It really seems like it's happening, man. Kevin Owens is getting his match. He's getting his wish.
Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman. Dude, let's talk. Before we talk about this match, let's talk about Jacob Fatu. Number one, his promos on SmackDown have been short, sweet, beautiful, and people are seeing why we've been talking about this Jacob Fatu for so many years. Number two, this guy's going to be a face in a couple months.
Yeah, for sure. The crowd already likes him a lot, and it's because he's great. He's so much fun to watch. He has that Umaga killer vibe in him. He is the Samoan werewolf for a reason. I just wish that they would have just let Jacob Fatu squash Braun Strowman and beat him clean and pin his shoulders in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. Braun Strowman wins this match by disqualification, as they say. Boris, Jacob Fatu was disqualified for kicking too much ass. The worst finish in wrestling.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that finish. But again, I know that they're trying to make Jacob Fatu look super strong, but you know what? You know how you make the guy look strong? Fucking squashing Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman will never not look strong. He will never look weak. I don't know. That's my one booking decision in this show. Maybe one of 3 major booking decisions, I should say, that I was a little on.
Yeah, because I do think Sheamus probably could have won the title, but that one didn't bug me. This one,
This one bugged me the
I
most.
just wish that. Yes, I agree with that. I just wish that they had the balls to put Jacob Fatu over strong here. I get that you don't want to. If you don't want to beat Braun Strowman, don't book the match. You know what I mean? Like, you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. And I feel like rather than Jacob Fatu going kind of 50-50 with this guy and then at the end getting the advantage and running his butt into his face until the referee said, stop, he's already dead. Like, that's a weird finish. Just have Jacob Fatu crush both of Pretty Deadly or anyone else on the roster. You know what I mean? Rather than do this kind of half and half thing.
Yep. And Blaine, calm down, because I'm going to give Cole some flowers right now. Michael Cole did a fantastic job of putting Jacob Fatu over as he's yelling at the security guards and everyone to just handcuff Jacob Fatu. He did a great job of making this guy look like a fucking psycho.
Yes, yes, yeah. Michael Cole screaming in abject terror definitely helped this a lot. Cage Match has this match right now at 5.05 out of 10. That's about right. Braun Strowman wins via disqualification. 8 minutes and 59 seconds, according to this here website. Yeah, that seems about right to me. 5 out of 10.
In a moment that must have hurt Tony Khan just a little bit, we see the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard in the crowd.
Yeah, Mark Henry and Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson all back in the WWE family. Eat
And
shit,
no,
Jacksonville
Arn
Jaguars.
Anderson was not holding a Glock for Cody Rhodes.
Not openly. Who knows what he had in his pocket?
Where's FTR?
Exactly right. Exactly.
But it was cool seeing them. I was a complete shock to see them, to be honest.
Didn't expect it. It is nice to know that they're back in the fold. And yeah, you got to always think that Arn's dressing hot. He's dressing warm, Boris. That thang is on him somewhere.
And then the aptly called Okerlund position warmed my fucking heart.
Yes, the Okerlund position is a nice touch for sure. Shout out to the great Mean Gene. Rest in peace.
Yep. Then it just, then it was the setup for the main event, which was for the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther versus Jey Uso.
Yeah, this one, I don't know. Like, we've already seen Gunther versus Jey Uso a number of times. They've had better matches than this, although this was a good match. 16 minutes and 42 seconds, the main event of this show on NBC. It's not a bad thing, but it kind of just felt like a retread. You know what I mean? Like, we've already seen this world title match. Gunther comes in as champion, escapes by the hair of his chinny chin chin, defeats Jey Uso with 2 consecutive power bombs. 16 minutes and 42 seconds. The Intercontinental title match was rated 7.14. This match is currently rated 7.12 on Cage Match. I'm sure both of those will fluctuate a little bit, but again, I would say that's fair. That's about right. Maybe slightly worse, maybe than the Intercontinental title match, but right on that level. Boy, I wish Jey Uso would have won. I feel like if you were going to book this match, it's just a waste, and it kind of hurts Jey to lose it yet again.
Here's the thing, though, and I've noticed this. After this match, it's like, okay, we saw Sheamus versus Braun Breaker. We've seen Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley. We've seen Gunther versus Jey Uso how many times in the past? Honestly, and I understand this decision of WWE taking matches that we, as hardcores, have seen many times.
Yes.
But all these matches worked. So put them in the NBC TV station for the casuals. So I understand that. Obviously Gunther retains, but here's what it comes down to. You're on the NBC platform. I really do feel like at some point there's going to have to be some special, and maybe it might happen when there's a huge lull and there's a Saturday night's main event show. No, not even close to a pay-per-view, PLE, whatever you want to call it, where they're going to have to do something newsworthy, where they're going to have to do something, a major upset, a title change. Like, something is going to need to happen to keep the hardcores interested in Saturday night's main event, or else they're going to fall into this weird position where it turns into a battle of the belts which is just random matches on a Saturday night.
Absolutely agree with you, Boris, and I think we should circle July 12th on our calendars, because that's the Saturday night's main event that is going head to head with AEW All In, their biggest show of the year. That's the time where someone's going to win a world title. There's going to be a big Razor Ramon versus 1-2-3 Kid style upset. Something notable is going to happen on that show opposite AEW All In, I bet you.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's the major one that we should all keep an eye on as Okada and Omega are giving us a 20-star match. It'll be interesting to see what WWE contends with. But overall, as we mentioned, Gunther does retain. It was a good match. And again, this was a nice match to show to the casuals. But us hardcores have seen it. We kind of felt, it was a good show, but... And that's what needs to change. I just want to end after show. This was a good show.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, and we've already said it, but it is worth reiterating. Like, that is the Saturday night's main event playbook. Macho
Yes.
Man versus DiBiase. They do the loop. You know what I mean? They go around and wrestle each other 1,000 times, and then they put it on NBC. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how these things used to work. So it does make sense. But yeah, like as you said, they got to pull something out of their hat in the next 2 or 3 just to educate us that this isn't AEW Rampage or AEW Battle of the Belts or AEW Collision or Sunday Night Heat or WWE Velocity or whatever, right? This is not a B show. It's not a C show. It is a major program worth sitting down and spending 2 hours on a Saturday night on.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, like, it was a fun show, even for us. The nostalgia factor worked. Like, I honestly think that they've done a brilliant job of mixing, stuff that works for us versus stuff that works for, the casuals, the people that just so happen to be over your house, on a Saturday evening. I think that they're doing a good job. I just wanted to bring that up because, like, something needs to happen at some point where for us to really keep the momentum going, but we are a week away from the Royal Rumble, and yeah, man, it'll be interesting. We're going to talk about the Royal Rumble in a little bit, but let's talk and switch gears to AEW Collision, because at the same time as Saturday night's main event, Homecoming was happening. AEW Collision, there's one major thing that I want to talk about, and that is Mama Storm's baby girl portraying how many characters with Mariah May. Honestly, Toni Storm, brilliance.
Regardless of gender, sex, whatever, she's the best character in professional wrestling. Full stop. Everyone included. Toni Storm is the best character in professional wrestling. I was really enjoying the rookie gimmick. I felt like it had a few more weeks to it, at least. That gimmick still had some legs, but she is officially timeless Toni once more. And this promo was awesome. Mariah May did a great job, but after hitting Toni Storm with the belt and bludgeoning Toni, I guess, well, she wasn't busted open for this one, but she got the shit kicked out of her. And then Mariah May walking away, Toni Storm reverted back to her timeless persona, Cactus Jack style almost, morphing in front of our very eyes. And yeah, threatening to rip Mariah May's tits off. Let's go, Boris.
Yep. They say the hardest role you'll ever play is yourself. Like, this was so well done. And at first, when I saw this, because I didn't watch this show, I did watch it now. But at the time, I saw that this happened, and I'm like, that's interesting, kind of random. They are going up against Saturday night's main event, and it did, they needed something major. And I think this was a good call. I do feel like this was a bit, quote unquote, rushed, but if you're gonna do it, you might as well, if you're gonna do something major like this, you might as well do it as there's competition on regular TV.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, put your best foot forward. They have this on the back burner. They have this idea. Might as well bust it out of the garage and give this Corvette a spin, man. Like, yeah, this was really well done by both parties. I thought this was an excellent promo, probably promo of the year so far. Like, definitely the best segment, the best promo segment I have seen in any company all year. It is only January 26th as we record this. The year is young, but this was my favorite promo to date. And I was not really excited for Grand Slam. I may not have even watched Grand Slam, honestly. And now I will for sure watch specifically this match. I will stop what I'm doing to make sure I watch this match live on Saturday, February 15th, during the afternoon, I imagine, because it's in Australia.
It's airing at night, so it's airing on TBS, TNT, I forget which channel, right after the NBA skills competition.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Is it going to be tape delayed then?
Oh, it's tape delayed. Big time.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So I will have to avoid spoilers for that one. But yeah, this one segment definitely sold the show for me. Like, I don't have to pay money to watch it, but I will spend my hard-earned 2 hours, Boris, watching this television show. I will not be watching the competing NXT Vengeance Day that night. AEW has hooked me with this one promo. Maybe you will, but I just think Toni Storm is the best character in professional wrestling, and she did it yet again. She killed it yet again.
Yeah, so well done. Honestly, put the entire company behind Toni Storm at this point. Like, just, yeah. It's excellent what you got going with her. It's fresh. It's different. She's a hell of a character. She's doing it all, and she can do it all, and she continues to prove that. Honestly, just go with it.
Yes, and I do think... I kind of feel like Mariah May is going to win in Australia just to keep this feud going. But I think there's a way to keep it going with Toni winning and getting the big moment in her home country.
I think that this story is going to end at All In, to be honest. They're going to do the year loop. Just put Toni Storm, at her lowest, which might be losing at home, and let's see what characters come out after that, right? Like, let's keep this going. Let's see what she does. She went back to the rookie after losing at the last year's All In. She goes home. She loses. What's going to happen to the brain of Toni Storm? I think that, to me, is the most intriguing part of this storyline.
I agree with you. Yeah, she's been down and down bad, but she hasn't quite yet hit rock bottom. We need that dark night of the soul, as they say, and that's exactly what we're building towards. So I do expect Mariah May to retain in Tonyville.
Yep. There you go. Real quick, AEW, her business, winning the tag team titles. What do you think?
Makes sense. They're the right people for the job. Private Party's reign was massively underwhelming and didn't really need to happen. There are apparently the Young Bucks themselves have said that they wanted to put the belts on the Outrunners. We talked about this already, so I won't go too deep into it, but I think it should have been the Outrunners who were the champs for the last couple weeks, just to kind of cement them on that next level, because this did pretty much nothing for Private Party. It honestly didn't really help them much. You could argue it hurt them. You could argue it hurt them by being such underwhelming champions who had like 2 weeks with the belts, kind of wrestled a few times on Collision, and that's about it. Won like a fatal 4-way match on pay-per-view. Like it was the worst tag team title run that we've seen yet in AEW, and it could have hurt Private Party more than it helped, honestly.
Yeah, and in the sense of irony, I think we've seen the Hounds of Hell a lot more than we ever saw the House of Black, and that's just, to me, that's the funniest shit ever.
Yeah, I don't know what it was with Tony and Malachi Black, but yeah, that was some promotional malpractice. I truly believe in my heart that a young Tommy End, like a prime Malachi Black, which he might be exiting his prime now, but prime Malachi Black could have been one of the biggest stars in wrestling. He was always such a standout, good personality, good gimmick. Like, he had all the tools in the toolbox. He did connect with the casual fan in a way that a Braun Breaker does not. I really, truly believe that he's one of the biggest fumbled bags over the last 10, 15 years of wrestling.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if he does sign and go back to WWE. We know Triple H loves this guy. He pushed him to the moon and back in NXT, so it'll be very interesting what we see from Aleister Black, Tommy, and Malachi Black, whatever the fuck you want to call him at this point.
Yes, 1,000%. And wrestlers can age pretty well. Like, being 40 is not a death sentence to your career, but he turns 40 in May. Malachi Black does. He turns 40, and time is running out for this guy. Time is running out, sadly. Exactly, but Cody's been getting that push at the tippy top. But Boris been getting that push at the tippy top, and people know and love Boris. You gotta start the push for Malachi's all
other people turning 40 this year, this is the funniest one for me. Ciampa, he finally turns 40 this year.
Tommaso? Yeah. No one will survive? Oh, man. He looks like he's been 40 for the last 20 years.
And John Moxley also. And Roman Reigns.
Nice.
We're all 85ers.
Oh, wow. The 85 club. I love it. Yeah, no, Tommaso Ciampa came out of the womb at 40. That one surprises me.
Right? Yeah. It is what it is. Nice. Anything else about AEW you want to talk about before we jump back to WWE?
No, not really. I think AEW is kind of just in that build for Grand Slam now. And yeah, they're hit and miss, but AEW still gets too much flack, in my opinion, because they still do have the capacity to do a promo like they did last night. And putting the right people in the right position helps. Like, actually give Toni Storm and Mariah May a huge spot, and you'll see what happens.
You know what I've noticed about AEW, and this is WWE did this for years, but we're now seeing this with AEW is where people have this fundamental hate towards something like AEW pissed in their cereal, and no matter what AEW does, they're always going to hold something against them.
Yes, and honestly, like I know what you're saying, and I do feel like on a case by case basis, some of those reactions. So yeah, some are justified. Some of those reactions are unfair, and it's a case by case thing. But AEW put themselves in that position by pushing all the old guys. You know what I mean? The AEW started in 2019 when wrestling was at its like lowest, right? And they brought all these new faces to the forefront, and now AEW's main event scene is the WWF main event scene from 2019. It's Edge and it's fucking. Bobby Lashley and MVP and Shelton Benjamin and what the fuck are we doing here, guys? You know what I mean? Like, we're Canadian boys, Boris. Obviously, we love Adam Copeland, the rated R superstar Cope. But is 50-plus-year-old Edge really the guy you want in the main event versus almost 40 John Moxley? Like, if you're gonna push a 40-year-old. Push Kenny Omega, who was the one that I don't know. We don't need to do this whole song and dance, but yeah, I do feel like AEW gets a little overhated, but they put themselves in that position. Ultimately, they did it to themselves.
Yep, and I don't want to be negative at this point, but I do want to also point out that hey, you know what? Let's remember, WWE had low points and high points, and let's talk about this because I do, right before we jump into the Royal Rumble preview, I want to jump back to WWE World, and it's something that Jake Aguilar posted on the Facebook group, facebook.com, and search for A Plus Productions, and this was a very interesting thread. I had a lot of fun reading stuff, and this is what Jake posted. What would you say was WWE's worst year? Many say 1995, but 2008 and 2009 during the guest host era was also a brutal time for me. So we are talking about the low points of WWE. Matt, you were the first one to respond. What do you think?
Yeah. I do think that era, the 2018 to 2020, right when Vince McMahon was at his craziest, right before he got caught and left, that's an underrated time and place in wrestling history. That was awful. It was so bad it chased our boy Jason Agnew away from the business forever. It's that was an awful stretch for wrestling. Jake's shout out of 2008 to 2009 is also a great call. That was atrocious. That was when PG was first coming in and they rode that horse for 10 years. It was also immediately post Benoit. So there was a lot of yeah, exactly. He who shall not be named. No, but yeah, that post Benoit era where they were transitioning to PG, Shawn Michaels leaves around that time in early 2010. He retires. And yeah, that 08 to 09 stretch had the Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho feud. And that's about it. And that Michaels versus Jericho 08 feud was awesome, but that was the only thing watching for like 2.5 years there.
I honestly stopped watching after the Benoit stuff, as did you, if I recall correctly, right? So to me, that was the lowest point in pro wrestling. And Blaine brought up a great point, so I'm going to read out his comment here. I feel like you would have a different perspective depending on how old you are and the era you grew up in. I did watch during the year 95 and liked it at the time, but looking back, it was horrendous. 2006, I thought, was a pretty bad year, but I was kind of bored around 2012 as well, up until Punk's heel turn and the Shield debut. You also had the Kane Daniel Bryan team. The end of that year definitely made up for the rest of it, and I agree 100% with everything Blaine said, because that's the thing. I feel the same about that era as well. Like I did watch post Benoit here and there. I'm not saying I completely stopped, but I watched pay-per-views, the big four and stuff like that, and I kind of knew what was going on because I would watch the random, especially Raw, never really SmackDown. But yeah, everything that he said here, like 95, I was a fucking kid, right? I was 9 years old. I thought this was fucking amazing. Looking back at it, ooh.
It was pretty rough. But yeah, like I was in 1995, I was 7 or 8, and I too was watching wrestling and absolutely loving Bret the Hitman Hart versus Jean-Pierre Lafitte and fucking Isaac
Destroyer?
Yankem DDS, Belt Destroyer, King Mabel, all this shit happening. The Face Destroyer, King Mabel. But yeah, no, I have a soft spot for 95 because I was 8 years old watching that stuff. And yeah, that soft spot does not exist for 08, 09.
Let's just remember, Diesel beat Mabel at the First in Your House with an elbow drop. Let's always remember that.
What a time to be alive, Boris. Oh,
John Powell of Slam Wrestling said, the whole body Don as Doink Duke the Dumpster era. I stopped watching for about 2 years or so. I also know that Jason Agnew stopped watching around that time. For a little bit.
Interesting. There you go. Yeah, 95 chased some people away, and for good reason. Vince was screwing up really bad. WWE was in a very bad place, which is why WCW rose up, because there were still wrestling fans. They weren't being catered to anymore, unfortunately. And then Kevin Nash jumps, Scott Hall jumps, and history knows the tale from there.
Does it though? Because there's a lot of revisionist history around that time and the whole Attitude Era too, which is a discussion that I want to have with you in one episode one day, because it's interesting to hear perspectives of stuff that happened back then, because it's like, that's a little revisionist, that's a little 2020 hindsight-y of you to think that, but anyways, Shane McDonald said this: the time they revived Saturday night's main event was very bad. Hornswoggle, Great Khali, Boogeyman, etc. with Cena as the main event. What year was this? And then they kept going, and this was around 06, 07, when Edge was really becoming the rated R superstar, etc. I wouldn't say that was the worst, but I can see why a lot of people didn't like this era.
Yeah, it was coming off a pretty strong like 04, 05 year. 05 is one of the best years in WWE history. It was really good with so many different highlights. And then 06, they brought back ECW, kind of openly failed, and they didn't really try on that. That broke a lot of hearts. I just think I look back fondly on 06 and 07 because pre-Benoit, that was kind of the last hoorah of WWE. That was kind of like the last hoorah of the quote unquote ruthless aggression era. And until now, that was the last time that WWE was consistently even good, I think. Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely the start of the decline for sure.
Jay Lambier said this: I'm not up on the exact years, but the raunchy era where everything was bra and panties, the Triple H is God era, the celebrity host era, the Stephanie McMahon is God era, and the Vince lost his damn mind era, which would include some of the above, where he booked to spite the fans and lost viewers. Shit, I forgot the anonymous GM era. Good Lord, that was bad.
The anonymous GM was just a terrible idea that they never had any plan for what to do with it, and that just it was shite for sure. The Authority is a low key contender. That whole Authority storyline was just draining, just soul draining television.
As running the show with Alexa Bliss was also a low point.
Yes, yeah, I was not watching Weekly pretty much at all at that time. Yeah.
Douglas Stanford Grandy said, while 1995-ish wasn't a good time, I myself didn't mind it. Granted, I was younger and a major WWE mark. I guess I still am, and they could almost do no wrong for me in those days. So for me, the worst time would have to be the mid to late 2010s. The product for me was feeling very stale, and there was even a couple of years where I stopped watching the weekly shows and only watched the pay-per-views. It was a time when I admit the pre-shows were useful, and they brought me up to date on what I missed, which wasn't really a lot.
Yeah, fair. A lot of people are in that boat. Yeah. Honestly, like there's a good conversation to have. Like, has wrestling ever been good? And obviously I think it has. That's why we're here. That's why we love it. That's why we do these podcasts. But yeah, there you could poke holes in almost every era. Having said that, all of this feedback is 100% correct, especially that last one. Like some of the Vince booking to spite NXT, cutting off his own nose to spite his face, was some of the decisions were just baffling and terrible and made for terrible television.
The Vince losing his goddamn mind and demoting Triple H era was like literally the low point, probably of the decade that we've seen. And oh man,
yes,
things were rough.
Agree.
All right, let us jump to the last topic of the day, and that is the Royal Rumble 2025. A lot of people's favorite event, and mine too. My God, I'm really looking forward to this. It'll be very interesting. And you know what? A lot of times, Matt, we don't know, but you have a good feeling in the pit of your stomach, in the tips of your tit, whatever it is, you kind of have an idea of who's going to win the Royal Rumbles. But this year, the sky is the limit. There's so many possibilities, and that has me really excited, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I kind of have no idea who's going to win. I feel like they're telling us it's going to be John Cena, which makes me think it's not.
Ain't.
And other than that, it ain't. It tain't going to be John Cena. So who will it be, Boris?
I don't even know how to follow this up. That was a good bit until I ruined it. All right. Let's talk about the women's Royal Rumble first. A lot of people have been giving WWE some flack, rightfully so, about the women's division and even the women's Royal Rumble. But they did a really good job of finally putting some focus on the women's Royal Rumble on SmackDown. So let's run through the announced competitors so far. We've got Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Charlotte Flair, if that's really her, Bayley, and Nia Jax.
Yeah, Charlotte Flair with a depressing amount of plastic surgery. Boris giving a new meaning to the term face turn.
Not that's a good one. Not that any of that matters, how she looks or what she's done. But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, it is so egregious. It's so noticeable that I feel like you have to mention it. But yeah, no, I mean, no judgment. If that's what she wants to do with her life and her money, and that makes her feel happy and secure, then more power to you, girl. But yeah. I don't think she needed it, but whatever. Yeah, we don't need to go down this road. I do feel like probably once we hit the time and place, Charlotte Flair is going to be the favorite, possibly on the weird betting sites that will accept wrestling bets. Like Charlotte Flair very well could be the favorite to win this.
She is, you know, this is 2002 Triple H return. I think that's the story that they're going to go with Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, and yeah, that wouldn't shock me at all. So right now in light number 2 pencil, I will very carefully write Charlotte Flair and keep my eraser handy. But I think that's my current pick.
Do you think we'll see the return of Jade Cargill?
Ooh, probably. It seems like she's due. I imagine we're going to get Roxanne Perez in the Rumble. Probably Jordan Grace will be in the Rumble. A number of NXT stars, a number of returns. Asuka, Becky Lynch. Neither would shock me that much. Mella, Alexa Bliss. There's a chance that they might show up.
Apparently, there's a contract dispute right now with Alexa Bliss with how much time is left. We don't talk news too much here, but so that's a thing that's happening. I think we'll see Masha Slamovich for sure at the Royal Rumble. That'll be a cool name to see.
They've already hinted at that. Shawn Michaels telling Masha Slamovich that he is only a phone call away, the Heartbreak Kid is, which is not the first time he's said that to a lady.
I'm sure. Sunny days ahead. All right. Yeah, but right now, Charlotte Flair is probably the favorite to win here at A+. Let's jump to the men's Royal Rumble. So far, we have Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Rey Mysterio, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, CM Punk, John Cena, and L.A. Knight. That is such a stacked Rumble. But Matt, I've been thinking about this, and I really do feel that you are onto something with Sami Zayn winning this.
Oh, it would have been awesome. See, if Uso would have won last night, I would have been all in on my pick of Sami Zayn.
It's a built-in story.
They still could do a thing where Kevin Owens wins the title from Cody at the Royal Rumble and Kevin faces Sammy. That wouldn't shock me that much, but it does seem like Kevin Owens is going to face Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, not Sami Zayn. So would Sami Zayn wrestle Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania? Would Sami Zayn wrestle Gunther? He's already beaten Gunther. He's kind of like the Gunther's kryptonite in a way is Sami Zayn. They could tell that story. Styles make fights, and Gunther is against this guy who is so resilient, so immune to Gunther's attacks, and he's in Gunther's head. Sami Zayn versus Gunther could be an interesting match. I want Sami to win the Royal Rumble, and I do think he's going to win the world title one day. They're telling us they're building that story. He's saying he wants it. The promo he just cut on Raw was really, really good, saying, "Damn it, I want the world title." I think he's going to win a world title and soon.
Yeah.
I don't know if I see his WrestleMania opponent though, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? At this point, like, let's remove Sami Zayn from the equation. I think that CM Punk is going to eliminate John Cena at the end of the Royal Rumble to win it. And that sets up a Cena-CM Punk clash down the road. And CM Punk finally gets his WrestleMania main event on night one, which really isn't the main event.
And that would be Punk versus Cena?
Punk versus, one of the title guys, right?
Okay. So you're picking Punk to win the Rumble.
I think ultimately that's the popular pick.
Yeah. Interesting. Punk versus Gunther, possibly. I like it. I'm going to, because I already had said it, and it was my bold prediction, I'll stick with Sami Zayn. But yeah, now that Uso has lost, I don't really see his opponent for WrestleMania. So I like where your head's at on CM Punk. You might be onto something. It might be Punk and probably setting up Punk versus Gunther, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. Surprises. Who are we going to see return, debut, come back, make a guest appearance at Royal Rumble 2025?
Wouldn't shock me to see Mark Henry. He still seems like he's in half decent shape. He's now back in the family. I think Mark Henry is a good shout. Wade Barrett apparently has been thinking maybe one last run. Corey Graves apparently was quietly medically cleared. It wouldn't shock me to see him get in there. Although a lot of people are like, well, Corey Graves had like a brief NXT career. Would we even care if Corey Graves came back to the ring? And I think that is a fair, it's a fair point.
Sorry about that. We do care because we listen to his voice every single week. People forget, just because he's not a wrestler doesn't mean we don't care about him. We've seen this guy for the past 5, 6, however long years, 10 years, right? Like this is
exactly. And they would have time to educate us and make us care. And a good way to do that, to start anyway, would be to throw him in the Royal Rumble. So yeah, Mark Henry wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
Wade Barrett would not shock me. I could definitely see him coming. I think for sure we're going to get Joe Hendry in the Royal Rumble. Yeah. I think that's going to happen. In terms of NXT people, I actually kind of expect Ethan Page to get the call up. He should be in the Rumble for a hot cup of coffee. Anyway, let's hope. Good Hamilton boy. The Hammer, Ethan Page is represented. Has Trick Williams been in a Rumble yet? He's long overdue, if not.
Trick Williams. I think that they should finally just put Trick and Carmelo Hayes back together.
That might happen. It might be a thing. Well, it's similar to Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez, right? Like they both turned heel and now they're back together. We kind of just forgot about the bad blood that they had. But I can see that, especially on the main roster, because they do help each other. That was a really good act, and then you can just do the whole feud again. Run it back, Boris.
That's exactly it. Similar to how Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez are going to do. Yeah, man. Is there a chance that we see the Hardys?
Oh, excellent call. Yes, of course. TNA Tag Team Champions work in relationship with WWE. Of course, there is a chance. That's a great call.
Dolph Ziggler?
Yeah, absolutely. Nick Nemeth could definitely he could definitely show up. Anyone who's like a TNA. What about Jean-Pierre Lafitte? No, probably not him. PCO, persona non grata.
You know who I can honestly see, and I don't know why, but this name has always popped up when thinking about this Rumble, and that's Frankie Kazarian. No one would give a shit, but I feel like for some reason he's going to show up.
That would be an interesting shout. Where is the Rumble again? It's in Indianapolis, correct? So there's not really like a huge star that comes to mind from Indiana. Pat McAfee is probably going to be in the Rumble for sure. But yeah, no, it's not like Philadelphia where you go ECW or like New York where you can think of like 10, 15 people off the top of your head. It's different. So yeah, there's not like that hometown pop waiting to happen other than your boy McAfee.
Spicy P, he's gonna jump into the Rumble just for us.
Reggie Miller, Reggie Miller in the Rumble, putting up threes. Let's go.
So that is the men's Royal Rumble. Really looking forward to this. Again, who's gonna win? We don't know this year, and that's what really makes me excited. The Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes ladder match. Man, honestly, this has potential to be not the match of the year, but a contender on people's top X.
Guaranteed. Kevin Owens is insane in ladder matches, just in general. He takes so many risks. This is a huge match, which will be very important to both of their careers. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm more excited for this match, honestly, than either of the Rumbles. Although, like, both of the Rumbles are intriguing this year. They will be good. This is the match that I can't wait for.
Match I can't wait for was announced on SmackDown, and that's for the World Tag Team titles, and that's DIY taking on the Motor City Machine Guns in a best 2 of 3 match.
Yeah, that could be a show stealer as well. It's very nice to see those 4 guys get that spot. Huge match on a huge pay-per-view on Netflix. Going to be tons of people, millions of people watching. That will be the biggest television crowd that all 4 of those guys have ever worked in front of, and that's really cool. So yeah, it's going to be a huge deal for those 4 longtime vets. They should really deliver, and nice to see the tag team titles on pay-per-view.
Some would say they would stand and deliver.
Get out of this house.
There you go, my friend. Those are the 4 announced matches for Royal Rumble. Really looking forward to this. Yeah, dude, it's WrestleMania season officially kicks off, and I just thought of the fact that at SmackDown at the end of the month, you're going to see the motherfucking WrestleMania logo pissing a lot of people in the 300 level off.
Yeah, just taking up a lot of space. Dudes and ladies pointing to it on every show. Can't wait for that. Our first ever February Rumble next Saturday, February 1st. Royal Rumble from Indianapolis, Indiana, and we'll be back doing a show talking about it on Sunday, February 2nd at some time.
Absolutely. That is the working plan right now. We might have a preview. We'll see what we do. We take it by ear here at A+. We take it day by day. We'll see how we feel, especially with friggin' norovirus just running rampant here in Southern Ontario. It's been, man, you just can't make plans because you don't know whether you're going to be sharting everywhere. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. Matt, as always, it has been a pleasure chatting some wrestling. Let's end the show. Let's watch some football. Let's have some fun. Men's sports. Har, 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 har. A+Productions.com is the best place to find all of the information for A+ Productions, which includes A+ Wrestling, A+ Entertainment, and A+ Sports. Facebook.com and search for the group A+ Productions. And each and every single week, we have some awesome chatter. It's getting really busy in there, and I'm loving every second of it. And thank you to everyone who does participate.
Yeah, it's so great that we have such a lively bit of engagement there on the Facebook group. Really appreciate it from everyone. And yes, to football we go, Boris. Go Bills, go Commanders. Please not a Kansas City versus Philly Super Bowl, please.
Kansas Commanders. He's Matt. I'm Boris. But till next time, stay care. But most importantly, stay tranquilo.